Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at this very inexpensive set of watercolors I picked up on Amazon. It was kind of an impulse thing. I'd never heard of the company before, Jerry Q Art. It's also called the Grace. There's another company called Grace or something that sells this, but basically it's a set of 18 watercolors, and why I bought this actually was for the case. So this was $12.99. It fluctuates between $12 and $13. But I really like the case. It's a nice thick durable plastic, and it comes with 18 pans of watercolor. And honestly, I bought it thinking that I'd probably just pop these little pans of color out and use the half pans, because half pans, and maybe not everywhere in the world, but it seems to me that to buy half pans empty in the United States is very expensive. So like you'll have sets of like 8 for $10. It just seems crazy. So this would give me 18 half pans, and I've had the need for some half pans. So I thought, well, it's cheaper for me to buy this whole kit and discard the paint if I wanted to. And I also kind of like how all these compartments are separate, unlike the metal pan holders where they're all together. And I thought, well, I could just actually squeeze my paint right into that and I wouldn't have to worry about pans falling out. But then when I got it, I have kind of, I don't know if it's my Yankee upbringing or whatever, but I have a very hard time being wasteful and throwing things away, especially brand new things. So I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to play with this set a little bit before I toss the paints, because, you know, they might be good for something. This kit also came with a water brush, which I figured for the palette and the water brush, you know, 12, 13 bucks would be worth it. It has this little ceramic dish, which is handy for putting water in and cleaning your brush, or probably if you wanted to mix a large wash or something, or if you wanted to put waterproof ink. And this dish says the art of calligraphy in here, so I was thinking maybe these would be more for like brush lettering. So what I did was this morning, my daughters had a lemonade stand, and so I sat on the porch and just kept an eye on them while they were selling lemonade, because I don't let my kids just hang out in my driveway selling stuff. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, nobody stole them or anything. I don't know. Yes, I'm paranoid. I'm a very paranoid parent. But so I was hanging out on the porch. It was a beautiful day, and I did a little sketch of my paint box, and I used the watercolors to color it in, because that's the liberating thing about cheap supplies, is that you can, you know, just kind of, like, I went right in with a pen and sketched and didn't, you know, worry about anything, because I'm like, it's cheap supplies. I'm not going to worry. This isn't going to hang in a museum or anything. And it was really fun, and that just gives you an idea of what all the colors are. They look all right, but I will tell you, they are kind of like poster paint. Like once you paint with them, they almost get very, and I'll show you here, they get very creamy and almost very soft once you add water to the pans. They're very they remind me of like finger paint or poster paint. Just they've got this gelatinous quality to them, which, you know, would probably be fine. It actually works quite well if you're doing some brush lettering, because you kind of want that smooth quality. I'm horrible at brush lettering, but anyways, you kind of get the idea there. And I found the brush to be fine with them. But again, you know, the paints are not great quality, but so I did a little mixing. I'm sorry, I sound very just scattered today. I did some mixing. I took like this rose, which actually the rose is a pretty color. That's that color right there. And I took the ultramarine, which is right there. And then I took, I think it was more like the lemon yellow, and these are the colors I mixed with them. Kind of flat and chalky, but still quite vibrant. And I find that if you have cheap paint and you're kind of bummed out, the thing you can do with cheap paint that actually works out very well is to do pen and ink and do washes. Pen and ink and wash. And yes, this is probably going to fade. These colors stay in the paper quite a lot, even though they kind of seem light and chalky. If you try to scrub them up, they do stain. So I think they're dye based. I'm pretty sure they're like an inexpensive dye based paint. But when you do pen and ink and you do washes on it, it still looks nice, and it's a great way to use up the cheap paints. I am not one of these pretentious artists that say you have to go and spend a lot of money on artist quality paint or it's not even worth it. Yes, it's worth it. It's worth painting with ketchup and mustard. If that's all you have, it's worth it. If you're an artist, paint with what you have. Don't worry about like going out and buying the most expensive paints. It's more important that you paint than, you know, buying supplies doesn't make you an artist. Painting, creating, that makes you an artist. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm really sick of people being pretentious and saying don't even bother if you don't have artist quality. That's ridiculous. You paint with whatever you want to paint with, whatever you have to paint with. That's a rant for another day. I'm gonna save that rant for a vlog. But anyway, so I did a split complementary type painting. I took both of the yellows I took both of those reds. I took that blue, which is kind of like a cerulean, and I took the ultramarine. The green was alright. It wasn't, I would just probably use a mixed green if I needed a green, because I was not that crazy about the green that I got there, but the colors were alright. And then I decided to take the 5 colors I like the most out of the set, which were the lemon yellow, the rose red, the kind of reddish brown. It's probably like a Indian red or light red. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's like a maroon. And I took that mint green, kind of aqua green color, and then I mixed some pretty colors with them. I took the aqua and the yellow and made a lovely kind of pretty green, pastel green. Then I took the mint green and the rose, made that lovely lovely lavender color. Then I took the rose and the ultra and made another lavender. Then I used the ultra and that reddish brown and made like a grade lavender. And then I took the aqua, again, it's the same color, just moved it over there, and the red, the reddish brown, and made that another grade minty color. And then I added a little blue to that and got that lovely blue there. So I'm like, you know what? And then I took those 5 colors and kind of rainbowed them just to see what I would get for mixes. And they don't flow, you know, that's the thing. They're not going to flow together. These paints have a lot of filler in them, and that's the thing with a lot of cheap paint, is that to make them cheap, they take the pigment and they add a lot of filler. So like if you're using kids' temper paint or kids' finger paint, it's bright when you're like smearing it around in big globs because, you know, you're getting a lot of pigment there. But if you spread it out, it's very weak and thin. Paints are good for different things. I would not say buy this set for the paint. I would say buy it for the pans, buy it for the palette. It's a value when you look at it that way. The paint, practice with it. Have fun, you know. But don't, you know, I wouldn't recommend this paint necessarily for you to buy, but I think the palette and the pan, and just have the empty half pans and the brush and the little dish there, I think it's a solid value. If it was available empty, I'd say it's a good deal. So then something I don't do is use black typically when I'm painting, but I thought, well, you know what, for this I'm going to try it. So I took those 5 colors and I added black to them, and I got some very interesting shades. So when you take a color and you add black, they call it a shade. If you take a color and add white, they call it a tint. Just little art facts for you. And I thought these were kind of interesting when I added the blacks to them. They just kind of gave a whole different, like, I really love the granulation there, and it kind of makes me think maybe granulating medium is actually whatever that cheap filler stuff they use in student grade paints. Maybe that's all granulation medium really is, because I did notice these colors granulate quite a bit, and granulation happens to be an effect that I enjoy, so take that for what it's worth. And then I took the rose and the ultramarine and I mixed it with some black, and I got a very rich, interesting color there, rich, lively, purple-y black color. Probably a little too heavy-handed with the black, but you know, I was just playing with it because, I mean, I was gonna throw the paint away and just keep the pan, so to have some time just to play with it, what's wrong with that? You know, I think that's a great thing to do, and I don't have to worry that I was like wasting paint or wasting anything. I'm using inexpensive paper, inexpensive paint, just having fun, and that's part of art, is being creative and feeling free and having fun. Not everything you make is going to be framed and hang on a wall somewhere. Okay, just let yourself have fun. If you've ever sat down at the coffee table with your children, your grandchildren, and colored, those coloring pages are not going to hang on the wall. But you enjoyed, you mixed colors, you put colors next to each other you might be too afraid or too timid to use together on, you know, an actual painting. So take that time and have fun. So these were, I was just kind of playing with the brush lettering. I have some hostas that were growing in my garden, and I was kind of looking at them and painted a few. And that's where I just kind of played with the brush lettering to see if that was something. And I'm not good at brush lettering. I was just kind of playing. My chickens wandered by, so I did some chickens. I did a fun rainbow. You can see the granulation there. I think you could probably see that pretty well. The blue into the green and the orange into the red. There's some nice granulation going on. And then I just brush lettered rainbow. And lemonade came out pretty good, but pity it's so light that you can hardly see it. My girls were selling lemonade, so there was some little inspiration there. And I was gonna write Lindsay Rocks, but then I thought that'd probably be pretty, you know, conceited to write Lindsay Rocks. But I totally wanted to write Lindsay Rocks, but I didn't because I knew I'd probably share this on a review video. But I just told you I was gonna write Lindsay Rocks, so that's just as bad. Yes, I'm totally conceited, guys. Sorry about that. And then so I'm like, I'll do watercolor in a rainbow, and I crossed my L along with my T, so it says watercolor. Watercolor. Yeah, I'm not that great at spelling. Actually, I did spell it right. Unless you're European, then I should have a U in there, but except for the cross T there, it wasn't too bad. And there I made another little color wheel, but instead of taking 2 blues split complementary. Instead of using two blues, I actually used that green that looks kind of like a Viridian or a phthalo green there, and mixed it with a lemon, got that lovely green, and then just a little spray of rainbow hearts, because I like rainbows and hearts. And this was that little journal I showed you how to make a couple weeks ago with just cheap paper mart, like the white craft paper that you'd use to cover your tables with. So I was just sitting on my porch painting with cheap paint and having a heck of a time today, and I wanted to share that with you because sometimes I think we get a little too uptight with our art, and nothing like some cheap paint. So go grab your Crayolas or your, you know, whatever it is that you have that the kids use, and, you know, have fun and don't worry about it. But so what I'm intending on doing is actually taking these pans out anyway and filling this, because, you know, I honestly, since these are divided, I have no problem, especially for the price of this palette, squeezing my paint directly in here, having slightly larger of an area to work with, and saving the pans for maybe like an Altoids tin or something like that. So that's what I'm planning on doing with this. Love the brush, love that it fits in here, love that I can fit a micron in there too and actually close it. I did hear, well, it closes and latches, but you can easily open it. Sometimes you can't easily open these, but some people did comment that they thought that this box did not latch tightly. It definitely does not latch too tightly, but if I'm not using loose pans and I have squirted my paint right into the holes, I don't think that will be an issue. It's not like I'm gonna have pans falling out, and that is kind of a pet peeve of mine, and I wish I had done that with my Cotman box. I wish I'd taken the pans out and refilled the paint palette themselves exactly, instead of keeping the pans, because by the time you're done refilling it and you've been painting and you're a slob like me, you end up gluing the pans in place anyway. So it's like I could have had those extra pans for something else, but you know, that's hindsight, and you can do whatever you want to do. That's just me. I'm not very fussy or pristine or anything, so if you don't like that, you probably wouldn't like that. If you don't like the splatters on the paint, you probably don't want to take any of my advice there. But I thought I would share that with you so that you could see this if you were considering this set. I don't know how I happened upon it. I think it's because I was like watercolor shopping, and then this was recommended, and I'm like, boy, just for the palette, that's a good deal. So that's how I happened upon it on Amazon. And it might be one of those things you throw in your basket or your wish list, and then when you see the price drop, that, you know, you pick it up. I don't know. It runs between $12 and $13 as far as I'm aware. But there you have it. There's some, just, you can see how it looks on paper. You can see they don't flow very well, but I bought it for the palette, so I'm happy with that. But just to experiment with the paints, I think they're going to wear down pretty quickly because of all the fillers in them. You can see how much the yellow is worn down, and you can see there's divots and everything where I've been using them. So I don't think they're going to last a long time. You know, you could even give it to your kids, let your kids use up all the paint, and then, you know, clean it and reuse it for your artist grade pigments if you want to. Lots of options in this little $12 kit, and I'm glad I bought it. So there you have it. Do take from it what you will. That's all for today. I hope you're having an awesome weekend, and until next time, happy crafting.